Hi, this is David Orlofsky. Welcome to the Parsha in 5, where in 5 minutes or thereabout, we give you a little insight into the Parsha. Avraham is an action character. Avraham does lots of stuff. He goes to war. He does all kinds of amazing things. Yaakov, also a very action-oriented character. A lot of really cool stories. Yitzchak, not so much. In almost every story involving Yitzchak, he's a bit player. He's born and his brother's shooting arrows at him and his mom has to stand up for him. He doesn't seem to do anything. He's 37. His father says, I'm going to take you over the mountain and kill you. And he's like, yeah, okay. Doesn't seem to be a player. Then he says, gee, he should really get married. I'll send the family slave to find him a wife. And she goes out and finds him a wife. He doesn't go and find a wife. Not like Yaakov, who goes out and finds his own wives, right? The family slave finds a wife for him. Yeah. And then his wife has a nevuah and she doesn't tell him about it. And then his two sons, he's not clear exactly what's going on with them. And both of them are fooling him. Yaakov fools him, Esav fools him. And it seems like Yitzchak doesn't really get to do too much in the story. He's a bit player in his own stories. And there's only one story in this week's Parsha where Yitzchak has nobody in the story. And it's designed that way. Because it says he goes down to Avimelech, doesn't mention Yaakov and Esav at all. Because we want to make it clear, this is the Yitzchak story. And what happens? He goes down there, and he's very successful. And Avimelech says, go away. And he says, okay. And he digs a well, and they steal the well, and he says, okay. And he digs a second well, and they steal his well, and he says, okay. And he digs a third well, and they don't take his well. And so he says, all's well that ends well. And he goes back home to Beersheba. And then Avimelech comes and says, I want to make a bris with you. Now, when Avimelech said this to Avram, he says, what about the well that your servant stole of mine? And we make a bris to make it clear that that's my well. Here they stole 2 wells from him. He says, I want to make a bris with you. And Yitzchak says, okay. And that's it. That is the only Yitzchak story. Why? Because Yitzchak is Gevura, and Gevura does not mean strength. It means restraint. Ezu Gibor Hakovesh es Yitzro. You know who's strong? Someone who controls his desires. And Yitzchak was in complete control. If you're a heavyweight boxing champion and a 3-year-old comes over and says, I'm going to fight you, and starts punching you in the leg, you don't feel threatened. And you feel like, oh no, I better kill this kid before he gets me. You just laugh it off because you know he's no threat to you. But if you're a small guy and you're being bullied and you're being teased and you're being picked on and you feel threatened, right? The famous story of the New York subway gunman Bernie Getz, who, until they found out who he was, everyone thought he's like that character from A Death Wish, where he's going out and like shooting the criminals. No, we finally find him. He's a little Nebuch guy, and he was afraid. And 3 guys were accosting him, and he felt, I had no choice. I was threatened. I had to fight. People who are strong don't have to respond. The only people who have to respond are people who are afraid. And so Yitzchak was total Gevura. You could never get him to do anything. He did whatever he wanted to do. He was in complete control. That is Gevura. Gevura is completely strained, and that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world as Chesed, and then he stopped the world from expanding. Shakai Sha'amadai, who said, stop here. Gevura, take control of the world and stop it, holding back. And that ultimately becomes the challenge of what we're trying to accomplish. Good Shabbos.